Hello all and welcome to this, and I don't know how this is going to turn out because the camera's been acting a little weird, so if the video is a little off, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what's going on, but I wanted to do this video. It's why I haven't done a video in a while, is due to the fact that I've been waiting for this show. I think the last WWE show I saw was what was that? Yeah, 'cause I didn't even see I didn't even see Night of Champions, maybe? Was that the last? I don't know. Whatever was right before Survivor Series. So I didn't see Survivor Series. I didn't see TLC. Didn't want to see either of those after everything that has gone down. Some people will probably have noticed that I've, been tweeting somewhat about Raw, but that only has to do with the fact that I've been home. And mainly, it's not much else I watch, and I'll watch it for a little bit and then stop, as I'm making this actually during Raw right now, so I'm not watching it at the moment. There's some stuff I want to see, but not very much, and if I had a DVR, I would just DVR it and then fast forward to what I wanted to see, and then, not see it anymore. But, anyways, let's get on with this show, because like I said, I've been waiting for the show. So again, if you followed me on Twitter, you've seen me, bring up January 4th, because January 4th was New Japan's big show of the year, Wrestle Kingdom. That's their WrestleMania-esque show, and I shouldn't even say esque after this show. I should say their WrestleMania show. It is their big show of the year, and I was looking more and more forward to it the worse and worse WWE got, because we pretty much knew what Wrestle Kingdom was going to be for a while, and it did very little for me. New Japan this year by far has been the best wrestling promotion on the planet. They are a solid number 2, I would say. They're a very distant number 2 to WWE, but a solid number 2. And match quality-wise, they have blown it out of the water, which is what I think you have to do when you're the number 2 behind WWE. I think you have to do what WWE is not doing, even if this isn't your primary market, just to try to make inroads into other markets. But all year, they've been putting on amazing shows. They started last year with the show, with their Wrestle Kingdom show, which was, many people's opinion, the show of the year. It was an amazing show, particularly kind of with the pageantry that they had, though we will get into pageantry here in a little bit. But as the year went on, of course, they just put on more and more and more great stuff, and to the point where there was no way this show was going to, I think, deliver to probably the expectations that a lot of people had. I think people needed to dial down the expectations a little bit to what's going to be on this show. Though I do think New Japan could have done a better job with this show. This show needed one more, I would say, big match. Particularly with perhaps an outsider, which is much easier to do in Japan than it is here in the United States, but New Japan is still kind of leery of doing that sort of thing. I just really felt like they needed one more big kind of outsider-esque type match, and we didn't get that. But, and I think this match, I don't think people would be, I think even if people compared it to last year, I think they would put it on par with it, all things considered. But, leading up to this show, I wasn't really excited. The IWGP title match, Okada versus Naito, Naito just, he just came off very flat, and it was very evident that, he wasn't going to be the guy that they had hoped. And so then they had to kind of switch things around, and they did Nakamura versus Tanahashi, which, of course, main evented, even though I don't think it should have main evented. I think the IWGP title side should have still main evented, but that's something completely different. And yeah. So I wasn't looking too forward with that. The undercard looked very lackluster indeed. You had the Gracie's match, which looked absolutely horrible. At the last second, they did add a Muda match, which it was going to be a Muda match, which meant that, spectacle-wise, it was going to be really good. But probably work rate-wise, not so great. Considering, the feud that he was kind of thrown into with all that considered. So I wasn't looking forward to the show until we got closer and closer to the show. I was looking more and more forward to it, because it was evident that we were at least going to get 4 great matches out of the show. And how many shows, realistically, can you say that? Yes, I know pretty much every New Japan show, but realistically, what can you do? I was also kind of miffed that, there was no Ishii on the show. I thought that was, that was a fairly big slight, given that I thought he had an awesome year. And no Yujiro either, which I thought was odd, given the fact that I thought, his entrance, given to what we saw last year, just seemed like, hey, they could have done a kind of a cool entrance with him if they would have put him on the card, and they didn't. So that was kind of odd with me as well. Though that was okay entrance-wise, and we'll get into that. So leading up to the show, I was really excited. I actually stayed up, watched it live, which is very awesome to be able to watch a Tokyo Dome show live. Is just as someone that is been around for so long and watched so much stuff, just the idea of being able to watch this stuff in Japan live is just an amazing thing. And I don't think people really get how cool it is just to be able to, even though it seems kind of odd to wait up in the middle of the night and watch a show at 7 o'clock in the morning, it is very odd, and then get up and go to work and then go to a wedding afterwards. But after you get off work. But it's kind of the reason why I'm doing this video kind of late, is due to the fact of just been tired, because it took a lot out of me to do all that. But anyways, let's get on with this show. Real quick, I would say this was a great show. I've seen some people say, this was just an okay show due to the length. Yes, it was 5.5 hours, but I was kind of okay with that, because they definitely, one thing, and in saying this, I know people will be like, you're being ridiculous, but if you don't believe me, go watch the show. New Japan out WWE'd the WWE. This was very much WrestleMania-esque in that, and then some. They went full out on the video packages. The entrances blew away. This show had some of the best entrances ever on it. And more than one. I mean, there was a lot of just oh my god, one out after another, which were just awesome. And which added to the show, and even though the undercard was very lackluster, I think it added to the undercard. It made the undercard kind of more enjoyable, because it felt like a spectacle. It felt like, oh my god, what am I watching? What am I going to see next? And I think that was a really, really great thing, and added to a show that, there is more to a wrestling show than just wrestling. I know that some of us get on here and we're like, yeah, work rate. And work rate isn't everything, because, how do you judge, what you like as opposed to whatever someone else likes? But there is other aspects, and when you do this once a year and you pull out all the stops, it does make the show seem bigger, it does make the show seem more enjoyable. And so yeah, so anyways, let's get going. So the dark match, which was a TENZAN HONMA Captain New Japan, who looked like, I don't know what he looked like. He looked retarded. BUSHI taking on KOMATSU, LIGER, NAKANISHI, and Super Strong Machine. Your basic New Japan dark match. Last year's dark match was much better, because you had the legends and all sorts of other stuff going on, and it turned out far better than it ever should have been. But this match was okay. It was what it was. And then from there we went on to the show, and they had this really nice intro with a live band playing traditional Japanese music, which was kind of cool to see. The show looked good. The intro was really well done. It just felt like a big show. And then we got the first match, which was the Young Bucks versus Rocky Romero and Alex KOSLOV versus TAKA MICHINOKU and TAICHI versus Alex Shelley and Kushida for the junior tag team titles. And they start off pretty much where they kind of bookended it. The show started, and you saw this guy by this car with these tennis shoes and jeans on. Well, we find out it's Kushida, dressed up as Marty McFly, because they do this whole Time Splitters intro where they're doing the video, and the video is right out of Back to the Future. And sure enough, him and Alex Shelley come out in the DeLorean. It was freaking awesome, and you should see it. And this was probably like the maybe 5th best entrance on the show. Yes, these entrances were like, oh my god, good. The match itself was good. It was spotty. It wasn't extremely long. I think the people that complained, I saw some people have complained that just like WWE, they stuck too much stuff on here, so some stuff didn't get enough time. I'm like, what didn't get enough time? I guess this match didn't get enough time, even though for what it was, It wasn't an elimination match. It was just, you know, 4 teams going out there doing their spot thing. It was a good match, nothing blow away. So there you go. Then we had the IWGP Heavyweight titles, which Lance Archer and Davey Boy Smith, Killer Elite Squad, taking on Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. That's Doc Gallows, from, you know, from everything, basically. And he's now in Bullet Club. And this match was good. It lacked heat due to the fact that I think you had two teams made up of all non-Japanese, and if you follow Japanese wrestling at any point, anytime this happens, unless it's really big names, Japanese crowd has a tendency, just like, you know, if you put 4 Japanese guys in a ring here and you stuck it at WrestleMania, there's a good chance the fans are just going to be like, okay, who are these guys? And that's kind of how it was. Even though most of these guys have, you know, Archer and Davey Boy did get some pretty good heat, and so did Carl Anderson, because they've been there, and Doc Gallows has just gotten there. So, but match was still good. Wasn't anything horrible. The entrances here were Archer and Smith came out in motorcycles. Smith on a massive trike, which was kind of cool to see. And then Gallows and Anderson basically did the old Anderson Bernard entrance, where Anderson shoots up the screen with his machine gun, and Gallows did the bazooka, which was kind of cool. We've seen it before, but that was fine. Then we had Rob Conway taking on Kojima. This, to me, had the possibility of being like the sleeper match of the show. Not that I thought it would be great. I thought it might end up being, you know, surprisingly good. Kojima's still hurt, so that didn't happen. This was still a good match. Kojima did win the the NWA title. Harley Race was there, which was kind of cool to see, even though he's very broken down. He got to hit, I can't think of the guy's name, the NWA president. He got to punch him, and then when Kojima won, he got to pose with Harley Race, which, if you can find a picture of that, he has the biggest smile on his face, like, oh my god, I got the NWA title, and I'm posing with Harley Race. This is awesome. And it kind of was. The entrances here were nothing to, you know, jump up and down about, so there you go. Then we had the worst match of the night, by far. I think everybody knew this was going to be the worst match of the night. Nagata and Sakuraba taking on Daniel and Rose Gracie. Oh my god, this was bad. This was a bad idea all the way around. If you were going to do this, and people have said this, these are not the 2 Gracies to get. You either get Rickson, Hoyce, or Hickson Royce, and I can't think of the other guy's name. The other one that people actually know, I can't think of his name. But you got to have Hickson and Royce, one of those 2, or if not both of them. Both of them would have been awesome here, because people knew who they were, and people would have been into it, and it would have been, the match would have sucked, but oh my god, the spectacle of it. Then there was no spectacle here, and it sucked. It ended in a horrible, horrible, horrible disqualification, which means we get this match again, which makes it even suck even worse. Dear Lord. The intros here were, you know, you got the basic Gracie entrance, but then Sakuraba came out with a Super Strong Machine mask on, and then he had all these little kids, and then behind him doing the train, and then Nagata came out, and he was the last one, and he had a Super Machine mask on too. That was kind of cute. You know, good for its simplicity, I would say. Then we had the Great Muda match. Great Muda and Yano taking on Suzuki and Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin was thrown on this card. I don't know why he was in this match, because he had nothing to do in this match. He really didn't have anyone to really work with. Suzuki was basically there because him and Yano have a feud going on, and Yano sprung on him that he was going to bring in the Great Muda. Great Muda came out, and unfortunately, they did not do Suzuki's entrance from last year. I think every Wrestle Kingdom, they should do that entrance where they have the live entrance for him, because, oh my god, that was awesome. And then you had the Great Muda entrance where you had I think they were Chinese dragons, but they kind of look Japanese. I think they were Chinese-esque Japanese dragons. And they were dancing and doing their thing, and you had the fire going, you had the Muda music, the live Muda music, and then Muda showed up, and he was all cyber Muda'd out and had an awesome costume, and the spectacle of a Muda entrance, if you've never seen it, the only thing I can compare it to is a Great Muda as a Undertaker entrance at WrestleMania. Honestly, that is it. Those two, it's like who can up the other one? when it comes to stuff like this. It is that sort of thing. So, match sucked, but the entrance was cool. So, there you go. Then we went to intervention. They announced a bunch of shows. I will say this. G1 is going to be held at a 35,000 seat arena, or dome, I should say. So, yeah, I would imagine that G1 is going to be insane, because for them to put the final on for a 35,000, seat arena means that that is going to be a stacked, probably even more stacked than last year. So, yeah, there we go. Then we had Makabe taking on Bad Like Fale. I wasn't looking forward to this. This was better than I thought it would be. This probably went a little too long. This was either you win by knockout or submission. Makabe won, throwing Fale, powerbombing him off the apron through a table, which he threw him too far and he hit the back of his head. It looked pretty nasty, but match was okay. Then we got to the awesome stuff. This was the stuff that we were actually kind of waiting for. We got Shibata taking on Goto. Goto got the fancy entrance here where he had kimono dancers dancing around doing their thing, and he came out and they had their match, and they had another awesome match. Great match. They've had so many matches that it's just kind of, tapered off now, but still it was a great match. The ending of this was great. They had a great video package ahead of time, which really sold the idea that these guys were friends and competitors. And after the match, they walked out together. Apparently, they might wind up being a tag team on the next big show for New Japan. They are in a tag team match, so that will be interesting. And we will see where they go from there. Though it looks like we'll see. Then we had Prince Devitt taking on Kota Ibushi, and this was another great match. Probably could have been better, but you had the Bullet Club have all sorts of basic Devitt match where they had interference until they were thrown out, and then we had the match, and the match was awesome. And Ibushi is Ibushi. He's a little spotty for my taste, but that's okay. Again, the entrances here. Prince Devitt's entrance was an Undertaker entrance. You had these guys in masks and hoods and things with a coffin, and they put the coffin down, and Prince Devitt comes out, and he's dressed up as Carnage, and he's all spray painted, and it was something to see. There was just something to see, and it was really, really cool. Then we had Okada taking on Naito. Okada went over. I think that I think it pretty much shows they gave up on Naito. I think he could have won here and it would have been fine, but they didn't do that. Match was the match of the night. Crowd started to get a little tired here, you could tell, but the match was really good and really enjoyable. Then we got the main event, and we got the main event entrances, and that's all that's how I have to put it. Match was great. Match was awesome, but what everybody pretty much has been talking about. Tanahashi came out first. He was the challenger. He came out, and Tanahashi, of course, does the air guitar, and so they actually had the original lead guitarist for Megadeth come out and play guitar live, play his theme live as he walks down the thing, and that was pretty cool. And was like, okay, that was awesome. That was not awesome. Nakamura comes out. Pole dancers, and when I say pole dancers, I mean like pole dancers. They were wrapping themselves. They were doing the, where you swing, go up the pole, down the pole, doing splits, doing all sorts of stuff, just doing all sorts of acrobatic stuff on these poles. Nakamura comes out. One of them jumps up on his shoulders. It was just like, oh my God, he is the coolest motherfucker on the planet. I mean, that's just what it was. They went at it. Tanahashi won, so he got the title off of Nakamura. That kind of sets up Okada and Nakamura somewhere down the road, so that's fine. And of course, Tanahashi can't take on Nakamura or Okada again, so it gives Tanahashi something to do as well. Awesome match, as I said. Wasn't the best match, like I said. I think the heavyweight title match was a better match, but this was a great match as well. And that was it. That was the show. And I probably didn't do the show much justice, but it was definitely a great show. Was it as great as last year's? No. Was it one of the best New Japan shows from the last year? No, it wasn't. but that says more to how great New Japan has been than to the quality of this show. This show was still better than, you know, I would say a lot of WrestleManias. I think the spectacle aspect of the show was far superior than maybe what we'll see at WrestleMania, unless, you know, WWE saw this and we're like, okay, we can't have New Japan like outdo us, because I mean this was really, really something to see. And it was nice to see too, because you know, New Japan, even though you had the intermission, which was cool to see too, because they had this one where Okada has this flaming giant sword, which is just cool. But anyways, if you've ever seen the New Japan intermissions, they always do. It's one of the things about seeing, if you actually pay for the show, one of the things you get to see instead of like seeing it here on YouTube is you get to see the intermission, and the intermission has these crazy commercials, which is just, you know, like this show was the sponsor of the show was another trading card company, and of course New Japan is owned by another trading card company, so you had a bunch of trading card commercials, which just looked just insane. And so that's kind of a fun thing about the New Japan shows. But where was I going with this? But spectacle wise, this was just amazing, and was I would say just, it felt like a huge show. And you didn't have, you know, like what WWE does, where they do the, oh, let's do the, you know, reading for kids, and we're gonna do, you know, Miracle Network, and we're gonna show all this stuff at WrestleMania, which I never understand why they show at WrestleMania and they don't show the Raw after WrestleMania, that more people are gonna see, and more people can see your goodwill than the people who paid for your product and probably know that you've already done this stuff, so who cares? And just show the matches and show the video packages and do all of that stuff. And the video packages on the show were, even, I would say, even better than what you normally see on a WWE WrestleMania even. So there you go. So yeah, so where does New Japan go from here? I don't know. The next big show looks fairly good. Doesn't look astounding. We probably won't get anything outstanding, I wouldn't think, until Invasion Attack, maybe a little later than that. But we'll see. We'll see if they can do something to top the previous year. I think to do that, though, they would have to bring in some fresh faces. I think they definitely need to bring in some more outsider type guys, guys from other promotions, but they're very leery of doing that. It kind of bugs me, because, you know, Japan isn't the United States, and, you know, they are in a position where they can, you know, cherry pick guys, and they could take guys who maybe are getting stale on the roster and send them to some of these other promotions, and bring in some of these other guys that have gotten, you know, pretty good cult followings. They kind of did that with Goto, Ibushi, and you know, and get these guys over and have, you know, these fresh matches and fresh shows, but kind of not what we're seeing. But anyways, that's it. All I can say is go order the show. Oh, I forgot to mention this. If you do, not if, go order the show. However, I will put the right link in this description box. There are two feeds. There's the regular North American feed. If you go to the regular North American channel, what you will get is Spanish commentary. You will not get the Japanese commentary. You'll get Spanish commentary laid over the Japanese commentary. If you listen real close, you can hear the Japanese commentary underneath it, which is kind of a weird thing. But you have to go to the Japanese feed, and if you go to the Japanese feed, you have to pay in yen, and then it actually winds up being a little cheaper too, and you get to hear it in Japanese, which I know most people would want to hear it anyways, but there you go. Anyways, that's it. Great show. Like I said, it wasn't the marvelous show from last year, but that was one of the best shows that they've ever done, so that was, you know, that's kind of hard to top. And like I said, I think a lot of people were expecting, I guess, God Almighty to come down and have a match. I don't know. But this was still, on its own, it was a great show, everything considered, particularly when you add in all of the extras to the show, and it did make it feel big. I will say the match, it was long. They probably should have jettisoned one match, maybe two, from this show, because 5.5 hours was way too long. But anyways, that's all I know. Anyways, so, until I see you again, you guys have a good one.